Jobs for the Future is a nonprofit organization located in Boston, Massachusetts. We work across the country on workforce development and education, focused on improving the quality of life and ability of low-income people to get access to middle-class careers. Well, I worked as an expert, as a team member for the OECD and their 16-country study, Learning for Jobs. Switzerland was one of the countries studied, and I was very impressed by what I read in the Swiss study, and so was kindly invited by Stefan Walter, an economist at the University of Bern, to visit Switzerland. I could not have imagined how strong the system would be until I actually got there. What I really wanted to see was how young people learn. There's very, very little written about what actually happens in the workplace, and Americans particularly are very skeptical about whether teenagers can behave in a workplace, and also whether this is an appropriate way for a 16-year-old to be spending his or her time. What I saw in the two sites that I visited, a regional bank outside of Bern, and Swisscom, really confirmed for me that you have, at least among the many systems I've looked at, the best in the world, and the one that's most respectful of the maturity and abilities of young people. Well, like several apprenticeship programs that I looked at in Switzerland, they attract young people by stressing the fact that they learn independently, that the young people are autonomous, that they make their own decisions, that they plan their own learning, and that's quite extraordinary to begin with. But when I got there, the setup was just quite amazing. It would rival or even beat the most innovative programs we have in the United States in terms of stretching young people to their limits, giving them opportunities to learn new things, and having them do so in the supportive intergenerational community where co-workers are mentors as well as colleagues. Having 813 young people in a large company seems daunting to the US, but when you see them with their cell phones and their Cokes in their hands and their jeans on doing their work, you see they're just ordinary teenagers, but as I said in my chapter in the book, Switzerland gets extraordinary results with them. There are really two ways to complete upper secondary school in countries with strong vocational systems. You choose academic track or the vocational track, and that the strongest countries have between 40 and 75% of their students in the vocational track. Most Americans think vocational education is for students who are failing and who are at risk of not completing high school. In Switzerland, there's interesting research that shows that 40% of students getting a 4 or a 5 on the PISA exam choose the vocational track, and that's because the status of vocational training is high in Switzerland, and young people realize that you will get a better job if you've got experience in an engineering firm or a high-tech company, or working with an electrician or with a cook if you've got work experience than if you've just learned theory in school. I'd say the outstanding feature and question is, how did Switzerland create a culture in which vocational education has both been modernized to provide training for the new global marketplace, and also keep the old professions going and do it in such a way that it's a respected pathway to adulthood for many young people. The second thing I think is very important is the issue of adolescent development. And what's so impressive in Switzerland and other vocational education systems is that students go to school, then they have a mix of school and work where they're actually learning to work, and then they go to work, which makes a lot more sense than simply being dumped into the labor market with a degree from a community college or a university. And the third thing I would say is that employers subsidize training of young people and do it without a great deal of arm twisting from the government. And what's particularly strong in Switzerland is that the government does provide an extraordinary infrastructure to support employers in research, curriculum development, and in numerous other ways.